How would you describe this jobs report and the impact of productivity?
Well, this is I would describe it as a lackluster report, right? We haven't,
Hmm.
the 50,000 jobs gained last month. We've seen over the past year, over 2025, 49,000 jobs gained on average each month. That's less than a third of the pace that we saw in 2024. We've seen the pace of wage gains, although a little bit faster than it was in recent months, is actually slower than it was in 2023 or 2024. And that is with ongoing higher prices that American consumers are facing. So I think from the worker perspective, this isn't a great report. It's not a terrible report. It doesn't, is in line with expectations. It doesn't signal that we're in a recession or something like that. But it certainly doesn't bode well for millions of workers who are looking for work and for the labor market more generally. And to that point about healthcare, I think, this is a big story, I think, in the labor market right now that, net jobs for 2025 really were all about healthcare. And yet the Trump administration has made these huge cuts to the healthcare sector through the tax legislation passed in the spring, the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts now through the cuts to the Affordable Care Act subsidies. And so I think that opens up real big questions about what healthcare looks like as we go into the new year.
How are you looking at this through the prism of the Fed? The worries about a soft job market led the market to believe another cut was coming. But when you see the unemployment rate dropping like this, what does it tell you?
Well, I think this is a tough report for the Federal Reserve, and I think all indications are that they are probably gonna pause, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. From their perspective, prices remain higher than their preferred 2% rate, and we saw unemployment come down a little bit. I think we're also seeing that the layoffs that were happening across the federal government appear to have abated. So there does seem to be some stability in the labor market. Again, it's not like we saw massive job losses this month. We're just seeing this tepid, pace of growth at about 50,000 a month. So I think that will probably lead them to wait for the next round of data. And of course, they're also still struggling with the fact that we didn't have data for a few months because of the government shutdown. So I think they probably want to be extra careful that we are getting good data and might want to wait to see what the benchmark revisions look like that are coming at the beginning of the year to the labor market data.
As we spend time with Heather Boushey, I want to mention some breaking news as the president is posting on social media ahead of his meeting with Big Oil. He's got Colombia on his mind. He says he's looking forward to having a meeting with Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, in the White House first week of February. So we've got something on the calendar here, it seems. He says, I'm sure it'll work out very well for Colombia and the USA, but cocaine and other drugs must be stopped from coming into the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Heather, I'm curious your thoughts on this meeting today at the White House with Big Oil in the room and a big ask from the president here. We've heard from the administration that this effort to start investing in a broken oil infrastructure in Venezuela is America first and will help our economy by lowering oil prices. Is that your expectation?
Well, here's the thing, from the perspective of American consumers, gas prices have come down quite a bit. And any benefit that they're going to see at the pump is going to take a long time to come to fruition. And we've also heard the president say that he wants a massive increase in what the American people pay for defense, for all of the work that's going to be required to maintain that presence in Venezuela and the other actions that he's taking around the world. The president has also said that he wants the American people to subsidize some of these investments that he wants the oil companies to make. I think those are big question marks. Where does this end? Where does this go? So I have a lot of questions about whether or not this will actually benefit the American people. And of course, this is alongside all the steps that this administration has taken to make electricity prices more expensive in the here and now. All of the cutbacks that he did to the investments that were happening across the country and electricity in the grid and in lowering families' energy prices. He's got a very confusing message on energy right now. And, as your opening segment talked about, this is a decades-long investment. And I think we have to wonder whether or not future administrations will be committed to the same kind of, imperialist tendencies that this president is. So If I were the American taxpayer, which of course I am an American taxpayer, I have a lot of questions
Hmm.
for how this meeting goes today and what the president expects the American people to pay in the here and now.